According to Deloitte, American manufacturing could face over 2 million unfilled jobs by 2030, with shortages of builders and plumbers already exceeding 500,000. Yet 76% of high school students pursue college not for better opportunities, but to avoid the stigma around vocational schooling. Raising the question, how did the backbone of our nation become so dismissed by society? Throughout the Industrial Revolution, advancements in manufacturing, transportation, and technology transformed the United States from a farming-based economy into an industrialized powerhouse, redefining the nation's economic landscape and laying the groundwork for an emerging working class. As industrialization progressed, the growing demand for specialized skills prompted higher education to shift towards practical fields like agriculture, engineering, and mechanical arts. While these changes broadened access to education, college still remained out of reach for most working-class families, who instead relied on hard work and sacrifice to achieve their vision of success. However, for those who could afford a degree, this new focus positioned them for managerial and administrative roles, establishing a hierarchical divide that continues to influence the perception of how labor is valued today. As the nation's economy expanded, American author Horatio Alger popularized the idea that individuals could escape poverty through hard work and perseverance, selling well over 20 million copies of his novels. In his most famous work, Ragged Dick, a relentless bootblack squanders his earnings on gambling and drinking until a wealthy benefactor offers him a transformative opportunity, a new suit, and a job in accounting room, where he adopts the name Richard Hunter, Esquire, symbolizing the perceived link between appearance, occupation, and upward mobility. This new ideal influenced workplace culture, where detachable white collars became a practical symbol of status, ensuring a clean, starched appearance while separating managerial and administrative workers from factory laborers. By the 1920s, mass production made collared work shirts more affordable, and marketing campaigns like the Guaranteed Work Shirt emphasized practicality and durability, offering shirts in two colors, blue and gray. Newspapers soon adopted these distinctions, coining the terms blue collar and white collar to reflect the growing divide between manual labor and office-based occupations. However, even as the social stigma against blue-collar workers began to take root, their contributions remained central to the nation's industrial strength. By the end of the Second World War, the United States had emerged as a global manufacturing powerhouse, with Pennsylvania alone producing more steel in 1945 than Germany and Japan combined, ushering in a transformative era in American society. Alongside this industrial dominance, wages rose by over 60% between 1939 and 1944, while pent-up consumer demand and wartime savings fueled investments in housing and infrastructure. Suburban neighborhoods rapidly expanded as factories relocated outside urban centers, and as housing costs consumed only 22% of household income, this created a robust middle class, where factory workers and office managers lived side by side. Alongside this economic expansion, the GI Bill, introduced by FDR, revolutionized access to higher education by providing millions of returning veterans with tuition support and living expenses, with over 7.8 million veterans utilizing the program by 1956. This transformation, amplified by the Cold War tensions following the Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik in 1957, reframed higher education as essential for creating skilled workers to support the Cold War economy, and as a tool to showcase the intellectual and scientific superiority of democracy over communism. The National Defense Education Act of 1958 provided federal funding to strengthen education in science, mathematics, and foreign languages, further solidifying the government's emphasis on academic and technological progress. However, this growing focus on higher education, particularly a college degree, began completely reshaping the societal perception of labor and traditional career paths. Vocational schooling, once vital for training skilled workers in industrial and manual trades, became increasingly overshadowed by a cultural narrative that equated college degrees with success. Blue-collar workers, once respected for their essential contributions, were now viewed as intellectually inferior to their white-collar counterparts, eroding the dignity of their labor and deterring younger generations from pursuing trade careers. However, even as societal perceptions increasingly favored white-collar careers, many US companies still remain committed to investing in their workforce through strategies centered on vertical integration and internal mobility. Leading up to the 1970s, major US corporations adhered to a retain and reinvest approach, reinvesting earnings into their employees to drive competitiveness and stable economic growth. This model emphasized internal promotions, with entry-level positions serving as a critical pathway to upward mobility. Manufacturing stood at the core of this system, employing 38% of the non-farm labor force during the war and 30% thereafter, solidifying its role in building a robust middle class. Yet, as globalization began reshaping the corporate landscape, this commitment began to erode, and by the late 1970s, corporations embraced a downsize and distribute model, prioritizing cost-cutting and redirecting profits to shareholders. The shift culminated in 1982 under Reagan's presidency, when the SEC adopted Rule 10b-18, effectively legalizing stock buybacks and shielding companies from accusations of market manipulation. Between 2003 and 2012, S&P 500 companies allocated 54% of their earnings, or $2.4 trillion, to stock buybacks, and another 37% to dividends, leaving minimal resources for workforce investment or innovation. And as manufacturing jobs dwindled, media portrayals and cultural narratives further diminished the value of blue-collar work. A 1971 federal report, Work in America, starkly highlighted the absence of positive representations of working-class roles, a sharp contrast to the 1930s when such jobs were depicted as noble and essential to society. By the 1970s, fewer than 1 in 10 television characters represented blue-collar workers, and those who did were often portrayed as crude, uneducated, or socially undesirable. Advertisements compounded this disconnect, showcasing products that many workers couldn't afford, fostering frustration as stagnating wages left aspirations out of reach.
TV respects me. It laughs with me, not at me.
You stupid.
Assistant Labor Secretary Jerome Razzo points out that the American working man has lost relative class status with the growth of higher education. All blue-collar workers, skilled or not, have been denigrated so badly, so harshly, that their jobs have become a last resort instead of decent, respected careers. Fathers hesitate and even apologize for their occupation instead of holding it up as an aspiration for their own sons. This erosion of respect for blue-collar work also infiltrated the education system, where vocational programs like shop class were increasingly dismissed as outdated and reserved for troubled students or those deemed unfit for college. This shift gained momentum with the 1983 A Nation at Risk report, which warned of a rising tide of mediocrity in public education and prioritized academic reforms over technical training. Simultaneously, the decline of labor unions further dismantled blue-collar job security and career pathways. Once representing over 30% of the private workforce, union membership fell steadily as corporations and policymakers undermined collective bargaining rights. Specifically in 1981, as the Reagan administration fired 11,000 striking air traffic controllers and then banned them from federal service for life, sending a national message that resulted in eroding wages, benefits, and critical infrastructure like apprenticeships. Between 2003 and 2013, apprenticeship programs have declined by 40%, hindered by their association with unionized industries like construction. As systemic shifts diminished opportunities for vocational and blue-collar careers, the broader economic landscape compounded these challenges. The national decline of manufacturing stripped away a cornerstone of middle-class stability, with nearly 6 million US manufacturing jobs disappearing between 2000 and 2010. Manufacturing's share of GDP also fell from 27% in 1965 to just 12% by 2010, reflecting systemic neglect. Meanwhile, the 2008 financial crisis, centered around the housing market, further disrupted any recovery efforts. From 2010 to 2020, new construction rates lagged behind population growth, resulting in a shortage of 1.5 million homes and over 500,000 construction workers. Policymakers and corporations frame these shifts as inevitable, treating manufacturing like agriculture, a sector they assumed could thrive through automation, with fewer workers. However, this view underestimated manufacturing's critical role in sustaining middle-class incomes and economic mobility. For example, Germany demonstrated that high wages and robust public policies can maintain a competitive manufacturing sector. By contrast, the US pursued cost-cutting strategies and embraced globalization, paving the way for China's rise as a manufacturing superpower. Between 2000 and 2011, China's share of global manufacturing output rose from 5.7% to 19.8%, surpassing the United States and cementing its dominance. And as the median age of American homes is now exceeding 40 years and labor shortages are worsening across trade industries, the nation faces compounding consequences to decades of neglect towards vocational pathways. This challenge is further intensified by an aging labor force, as more than 1 in 5 construction workers are now 55 years or older, with the retirement signaling not only a loss of workers, but also irreplaceable expertise that industries depend on to train the next generation. And at the same time, cultural stigmas and educational priorities have steered younger generations away from trade careers, where 61% of Gen Z report that their parents never discussed vocational schooling or actively discouraged it. While schools have prioritized funneling students into 4-year degree programs, largely ignoring the opportunities vocational training offers, where only 17% of Gen Z say they were informed about the benefits of trade careers, reflecting an educational system increasingly focused on college readiness at the expense of practical, marketable skills. And as we begin to conclude, there's a couple different reasons why I wanted to make this video. The main one was I wanted to show the many different components into why the United States turned its back on the very people that built this nation. And as a result, as members of society, well, we then turn our back on the very people building our nation. When you look throughout history, what dominates the textbooks, the headlines, the social intercourse, is discussion about the inventor, the invention, the political leader, the catastrophe, the triumph, the technological disruption, all of these different components. And what we fail to ever recognize is that someone had to build it. We ignore the working class. We ignore the common person. We don't tip our cap. We don't respect that these things were built with somebody's hands. There was somebody in a factory for 13 hours a day in conditions we couldn't imagine to get wages we couldn't comprehend. And that is what paved the society that we live in today. That's what allowed us to have so many of these modern day luxuries that we frankly take advantage of. As a result of us not only respecting someone that doesn't fit in the societal norm, we're forgetting, or we're not comprehending the fact that we have to have those people, that we have to have people filling those roles, and that there should be pride in that. That instead of some sort of winter storm happening and I'm inside my nice cozy home and the electricity goes out, that I now spend the next couple hours looking outside the window, just furious that the people haven't fixed it already, that the electricians haven't fixed it already. Instead of being grateful that they are potentially risking their lives, they are away from their family. They are doing everything they can to fix probably the most complex problem that none of us could ever even comprehend. We have to begin understanding that the things that we take advantage of each and every day truly are a luxury and are absolutely not guaranteed. The electrical grid we have is going to fail if we do not make improvements on it. The homes that we have are not going to be able to just build themselves. We need more homes, and we continuously look towards the government as if they're just going to make everything better. We have to begin using our voice. We have to begin saying, you know what? A college degree doesn't guarantee success. It never has, but I continuously just keep force feeding that into my life. There's a whole nother world just ripe with possibilities. If I can just look past the stigma, I could potentially not only change my life, but generations to come. That is the kind of opportunity that we have. And no, I'm not saying everyone just go into the trades, to go into vocational schooling, to become a blue-collar worker. But there has to be balance. One of the things that I saw the most with my last video, at least, about why Gen Z or why employers dislike Gen Z was a common theme of young individuals saying, I wanted to be a plumber, a welder, a carpenter, you name it. But my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my friends, my community, my church said, go to college. So I did. And so now I have a college degree, I can't find a job, and I'm trying to work retail or work at a fast food company. There has to come a point that we begin to realize this common narrative doesn't work, that the societal promise is failing us. It is now a lie. It works in certain regards, but we can't just trust something with everything that we have and not maybe listen to our intuition of maybe I should be a welder. Maybe I should go do something. Yeah, I never was able to operate well in school, but I love to build something with my hands. There's another path out there for you. And I want to say it's not too late. You can still change the course that you're on in your life. Lastly, this video is kind of I want to just acknowledge, tip my cap to my parents. Two stories, two people that have impacted my life to where I am today is my mom and dad. My mom wanted to become a hairstylist when she was graduating high school. Her dad said, no, you're going to go to college. And she said, no, I'm going to become a hairstylist. And her dad like threw her $100 or something and said, practically, you're going to fail. But I want you to know that I'll be here when you fail. Well, she's been able to put a roof over her head, clothes on our back, and food in my belly for my entire life with a successful hair salon here in Austin, Texas. The late nights, all the things that she's had to go through to be able to do so is incredibly motivating. And then I look at my dad, grew up on a farm, wanted to build something with his hands, as clear as day. Reads a book and learns about the cowboy code, about being honorable, being respectful, speaking your truth. Goes and works at an architectural firm, realizes that's not for him, sees that people aren't respecting the actual people building the things. So he goes and becomes a master carpenter. And what I see with especially in the summers where I was right there with my dad, sweating in the hot Texas summers, was that you do everything that you can for your word, providing service for another. And that is your job. That is why you are here on earth. I saw that from both of my parents. Do your best, provide service to others, provide value, and do something that doesn't corrupt your soul. I then go into banking, the complete opposite of what my parents were mentioning. I realized quite quickly that is a soul-corrupting job. I leave. Now, I get the same societal rebuttal of the decision that I made. Can't believe that you're doing this. People won't talk to me now. All of these different things because I gave up a almost six-figure job to then make a YouTube channel with 500 subscribers at that time. But I believed that I could do it. And this isn't blue collar, but what I'm trying to say is that if you live a life in service for others and you go out and you find ways to network, you find ways to provide value to someone else, to get a little sliver of their time, you go ask a master welder, plumber, you name it, can I just spend some time with you? Can I help you? I will fetch whatever it is that you need. I will do whatever I can. I just want to learn from you. You will have a successful career. One of the greatest gifts that I had was the first job that I worked was actually at the local garbage company in my area. My stepdad is a retired Houston firefighter and a combat firefighter from Iraq. He was the garbage truck driver. So I would go there and I would just throw the trash in, whatever it was that I was doing. The greatest gift that I saw was the disgust that people had when they looked at me. And I realized this is not how life should be. because of the job that I'm doing does not make me better or less than somebody else. If you have a college degree, or if you don't have a college degree, if you're making $50,000 in an office, $50,000 doing your shoveling, moving a wheelbarrow or whatever, you're not better or worse. Do what provides value to you in service of others. Do your best. And we have to, as a society, I will continuously say this over and over and over and over again, we have to come together, because the government isn't going to just have manufacturing jobs just come back if we don't say they have to come back. The electrical grid isn't going to just improve, hey, everything's better, unless we say it has to improve. If we stop going to college and we start becoming electricians and we start creating companies to fix the grid on our own, things are going to change. We have the power to make a change. But if we continuously just are mindlessly moving through our life, listening to the false lie, nothing is going to happen. And just never judge somebody based off of the job, based off of the collar that they have. It's disgusting, and it's not the right thing to do. With that being said, thank you all so much for your time. I hope this was able to provide some value to you. Until next time, bye-bye.
I created this monster, and I've got to stop him. See what I mean, Patrick?
Where's the leak, ma'am?